Pokemon Scarlet and Violet don't really look like Pokemon games. Well, obviously they've got Pokemon in them, so they definitely are Pokemon games, but the visual style presented in the first few trailers give us a look into the future and, yeah, it looks okay. While I think a good amount of the environments and Pokemon we see in these trailers look pretty cool, I've noticed a fair amount of complaints about how the human characters are designed, at least during the gameplay portions. It reminds me a bit of the first reactions to new Pokemon Snap, another 3D Pokemon game on the same console. Even though these two are developed by different studios, it's still pretty clear that this is more so the visual style that they want to go with. So what exactly is off about these characters? Well, we're able to see much more clearly now with Scarlet and Violet, as we're shown how a character would look in 3D versus how they would look in 2D. I'm not saying that 3D is a bad medium for Pokemon, but for sure the style that's present in the Ken Sugimori inspired drawings hasn't translated very well into the models used in the game. And this is because Pokemon is primarily a 2D franchise. The main series games had been 2D pixel art games up until Generation 5, where the Pokemon style was basically perfected. The entire game was still 3D, you could very clearly tell with the environments and the camera movement, but every character and Pokemon is a 2D sprite existing in this world, and the movement overall is still 2D, and everything just blends together very well. We even see character portraits for important story beats, and look, they're literally just the character art brought to life through pixels. And I'm also of the opinion that the 3D Pokemon games on the 3DS, and even Sword and Shield on the Switch, at least with the characters, are able to carry the Pokemon style with them into this three-dimensional space. The character models of these games are done very well. You can see this even in Pokemon Masters, which is just about the perfect marriage of 3D graphics and the Pokemon style. Comparing the models to the character art, they basically just fully recreate them. But there is a reason that Pokemon on the Nintendo DS stayed 2D for so long. It's because it was all a deliberate stylistic choice. The DS was capable of 3D graphics, and just about every other Nintendo franchise jumped in right away. Look, we put Mario 64 on a handheld console, and here's a new Mario Kart game. Animal Crossing has a new home on the DS. Metroid and Zelda are even here too. Look at the funny Nintendogs. What the heck is Kingdom Hearts doing on a DS? But even as all of these games were 3D now, or were 3D and now brought onto a handheld console, Pokemon was still 2D. And it's not just a Game Freak thing, the spin-off games on the DS had the same philosophy. And looking back on these games after all these years, which ones have held up the best on a visual style? Pokemon Black and White and their sequels refused to leave the DS, despite being released just before and during the lifespan of the 3DS. But I think that's where things changed. I'm sure there was pressure on all sides, from Nintendo, from the press, from fans, everyone. The future was looking 3D, and once you take that plunge, you can't really go back. Like I said, I think Pokemon games past Generation 6 have been pretty successful in maintaining the Pokemon style. It was just in Sword and Shield specifically where the Pokemon and humans looked great, but the environments looked very generic and not very good. The same goes for Legends Arceus, except they got rid of the outlines around everything for some reason. Does anyone remember during Sun and Moon where people would use a no outlines mod and thought it looked better? The outline is actually an important part of the Pokemon style because they're supposed to look like anime characters. Imagine trying to remove the outlines from the sprites. And so now we come to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Everything is supposed to be more fully realized. It's a 3D game with big environments. The Pokemon have more detailed textures. The humans look more like, well, humans, they even have noses. All of this is likely an attempt to blend all of these aspects together. That new Pokemon Snap game was well received, so maybe everything should look like that from now on. But in all of this, something is lost. I mean, even when you compare the drawn character art of Pokemon to the models as they exist in the game, you can see a noticeable difference. I really don't think Scarlet and Violet look terrible, and I'm sure people appreciate the visuals, but we've gotten to the point where it's clear this isn't a case of simply being 3D as opposed to 2D, because anime-styled games can and do exist in three-dimensional space, while keeping the two-dimensional stylized approach that fans would recognize the characters from. Scarlet and Violet are just a different style, so it feels off. But those are just some of my thoughts as a consumer. I know some other fans feel a similar way, so I mostly just hope to put things into words after taking a look back on Pokemon to realize why I feel this way about what I've seen so far of Scarlet and Violet. I think Pokemon is so far past the point of just returning everything to pixel graphics, but I think there's definitely room for a game after Scarlet and Violet to better incorporate the Pokemon style by changing the art direction and shaders and lighting to the environment and all that stuff I know very little about. Because we're now at the point where we now have multiple 3D Pokemon games on the Switch, and they all look very different. So who knows what games after Scarlet and Violet will look like? Only time will tell. Thank you to all my channel members who make videos like this possible, especially Justin R, Mr. Pig Puncher, and Quago. If you want to support and have your name shouted out here, you can become a channel member as well, and get access to some cool emotes for comments and live streams that I'm very proud of. You can also follow me on Twitter for more memes. But anyway, this has been GatorX, and I'll catch you later.
Adventure over the Unova region and discover more than 150 all-new Pokemon. Pokemon Black version and Pokemon White version out now, only on Nintendo DS. Catch the mythical Victini only from 4th of March to 22nd of April via the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection.
There is a need to worry. Sorry, but you should say that there was a need to worry.